Following the failed second impeachment of former President Donald Trump, Republicans are canceling each other. That's fun. They have cemented themselves as the party of Donald Trump by canceling any politician that voted in favor of impeachment. So now this is according to numerous reports, all sorts of different reports going on here, talking about the 7 Republican senators that joined the Democrats in voting to convict the former president of inciting the January 6th riot at the Capitol. So apparently they're going home to their voters. They're getting lots of backlash, not only from Republican groups, but as I mentioned, the aforementioned voters. So let me give you some examples. So now, first, before I get into that, who voted to impeach the president? So here you've got Mitt Romney, Utah, Richard Burr of North Carolina. And remember, these are Senate Republicans, to be clear, because they had the power to convict the former president, and they decided not to actually do so, while the rest of the Republican Party decided not to. So you've got Mitt Romney, you've got Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Suzanne Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Ben Sasse, I know it's Ben Sass, but I like to call him Ben Sasse, of Nebraska, Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. They're the 7 Republicans that are now under attack by fellow Republicans who got some Republican on Republican crime in the morning, and I am here for it. So the party leaders, local GOP officials of their respective states are not happy with them, as well as the voters, and I'm not at all surprised. Because when you look at how popular former President Donald Trump is within the party, I mean, look, I've read you the polls before. I've also told you about roughly half of the Republican Party is loyal to the president himself, not to the party itself. So if you were to break off and run like, I'm going to run in the Patriot Party, which I really doubt that's going to happen because of how much support he actually has in the Republican Party. But nonetheless, they would leave the Republicans and go join the party of Donald Trump. So that just illustrates how much power he literally has in the Republican Party. So this is a real split. So far, you've got 2 senators, Republicans, that have been censured in their own state. So censuring is one of those things where it's like, we tell you how much we hate you, essentially in an official capacity, right? So here you've got Bill Cassidy, censured by the Louisiana GOP. Now that happened just hours after his vote. Richard Burr, of course, as well. But you also have Maine and Utah that are considering censuring their senators. You've got, again, Mitt Romney, unlikely to be censured, but still, they're talking about that. They've launched petitions, and so and that's really interesting too. But the way that Utah is and the politics that are at play, it's generally expected not to happen. And then, as I said, Suzanne Collins in Maine, they've got some real crazy Republicans. And so, they're considering censuring her. And then there's Ben Sasse, or Sassy Ben Sasse. So now Ben Sasse is expected to face a formal censure as well. And he was actually mentioned during the impeachment trial by one of Donald Trump's lawyers, Bruce Castor Jr., which was really, really strange how he would bring him up during this impeachment trial. In fact, I've got some video of that. Take a look.
It's interesting because I don't want to steal the thunder from the other lawyers, but Nebraska, you're going to hear, is quite a judicial thinking place. And just maybe Senator Sass is on to something. You'll hear about what it is that the Nebraska courts have to say about the issue that you all are deciding this week. There seem to be some pretty smart jurists in Nebraska, and I can't believe a United States senator doesn't know that. He faces the whirlwind, even though he knows what the judiciary in his state thinks.
That was weird. Okay. He faces the whirlwind. Oh, well, I guess he's true. So now, look, the whole impeachment trial was kind of supposed to be, I mean, about the direction of the party. Yes, of course, there's holding the president accountable, which is why it was launched. But Republicans had to focus on what party, you know, what direction they really wanted the Republican Party to go into, to be the party of, you know, tax cuts and deregulation and rich people and funneling money towards rich people, which of course ultimately they're still going to end up being. But are they going to also be the party of QAnon conspiracy theorists, anti-Semitic politics, open racism and xenophobia? And of course, we do have our answer on that one. Unfortunately, yeah, not good, not good. But let's go to the next one here. We've got Richard Burr. So now North Carolina Republicans sent Richard Burr. This is from Michael Whatley, state Republican Party chairman of North Carolina, said they sent Richard Burr to the United States Senate to uphold the Constitution. And his vote today to convict in a trial that he declared unconstitutional is shocking and disappointing. Right. All right. So now let's go to Pat Toomey. Pat Toomey, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer, may also face possible backlash at home to come. The newspaper reported that Lawrence DeBoss, the state's GOP chairman, said in response to Toomey's vote that he shared a, quote, disappointment of many of our grassroots leaders and volunteers. Each of the 7 Republicans who voted to convict Trump has also defended their decision. So Toomey, of course, goes on Twitter and it says, as a result of President Trump's actions for the first time in American history, the transfer of presidential power was not peaceful, which is absolutely true. His betrayal of the Constitution, his oath of office required conviction. And again, it's absolutely true. So now I want to go to another video here. This is Bill Cassidy, right? So this is Bill Cassidy of, I think, Louisiana. Here's what he said about his decision to vote to convict Trump. Take a look.
Former President Trump yesterday, he said his political movement has only just begun. Do you think he can run a credible campaign for president again? Will he remain a force in the Republican Party? What does that mean for the Republican Party?
I think as force wanes, the Republican Party is more than just one person. The Republican Party is about ideas. We were the party that was founded to end slavery. We were the party that preserved the Union. We were the party that passed the first civil rights law. We were the party that ended the Cold War. We are the party that before COVID had an economy that had record low unemployment for everyone, the disabled, the high school dropout, the veteran, the woman, the black, the Hispanic, you name it. That is the party of ideas. Now the American people want those ideas, but they want a leader who is accountable and a leader who they can trust. I think our leadership will be different going forward, but it will still be with those ideas.
Nope. Nope. By the way, we're the party of ideas. No, you're not. No. Okay, sure, tax cuts and deregulation, they're technically ideas. But, you know, those ideas aren't actually shared with a lot of the base. It turns out the rank and file Republicans tend to not care too much about giving rich people more money, generally. Okay. And so, again, the ideas of the Republican Party is make rich people richer by distracting the masses through coded racial language and about like welfare queens, for example, and lying about tax cuts creating jobs, which we know they don't. And so they never meant for their racism to be explicit. That now that racism, they are the party of racism as well. The party of Jim Crow. They're the party of, just coded racial language, the Southern strategy, etc. Right? But they never meant to be so open. They didn't mean for the dog whistle to be like a human whistle, right? And so now that it is, well, not good. They also never meant to be for the base to be so enraged and so fervent and so militant that they would put their lives in danger, right? And so what this Capitol insurrection showed is that all the things that they had fed into over the last few decades got turned against them, and they don't like it. It basically shit got too real. And that's it, really. And the useful idiots they use to try to funnel money to themselves and their donors through what the Republican Party has traditionally been, a money funneling scheme to the rich. Well, those idiots are no longer useful to them. Those idiots are now dangerous. And so that's not good. That's not good for them. And so those people, those voters have been radicalized and galvanized and pointed at anybody who doesn't share a slavish devotion to Donald Trump. And so it's kind of a really strange person to have that devotion to, somebody who is a New York billionaire who, again, doesn't really care about regular people, but does have, that old school racism towards black people and lots of misogyny and again, is essentially sociopathic. But nonetheless, people look to him and they see, well, basically they see what they want to see, and that's a reflection of themselves. And basically something that tells them that they're allowed to be the worst version of themselves, as I've said before. So now let's get back to more Republicans, right? So Mitch McConnell has kind of drawn the battle lines. Mitch McConnell is an evil person. I do not like Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has killed so many people through his, inability to pass anything, to allow anything to pass through the Senate that helps poor people. So Mitch McConnell likes killing poor people, right? Through inaction, real social Darwinism at play. But Mitch McConnell drew a line at Trumpism. And I think, of course, because that really challenges Mitch McConnell's control of the party and power within the party. And so don't misunderstand what Mitch McConnell's motives are here when it comes to him going up against Donald Trump. But he's going up against Donald Trump. And so understand that, Mitch McConnell's that old school type of Republican that does hate his base. Oh, of course he hates his base. He reviles these people. Kentucky voters also don't like him either. But it's weird because he continues to win re-election over and over and over again, despite him not actually doing anything for residents of Kentucky. He hates his base. He uses them to funnel money to himself and his donors, just like pretty much every other Republican. But the thing is, now he's getting in trouble because he's not as deferential to Trump. And so there's that. And again, I have to add here that policy-wise, Trump is not that different, not very far removed from traditional Republican politicians. Again, tax cuts and deregulation. He loves that. Trump policy-wise is very similar to mainstream Republicans like McConnell. There's a couple of differences, of course, and I do have to, point that out. For example, Donald Trump has a hatred of free trade. So now, the thing about that, Donald Trump hates free trade because he doesn't understand how free trade works. It's true. I mean, look, trade in general, I think is good. Trade that protects jobs and doesn't exploit overseas cheap labor and destroys the environment is something we on the left ought to be fighting for. Unfortunately, of course, you've got one big thing that stands in the way, that's capitalism. And so, look, even social democracies, social democratic countries like the Nordic countries, well, the only reason they're able to, be capitalist and still, continue to have this really generous social welfare policy, because that's what they are. They're capitalist countries with generous social welfare policies. They're able to do so because of the exploitation of other countries like China, Vietnam, Sri Lanka. And so understand, to have a conversation on trade and the implications of, unfettered free trade and then, things like that, you've got to have a harder, I should say, not a harder, but a very long discussion about the results of capitalism. And understand that Trump and Republicans, they don't want to have that conversation because they love capitalism. They don't talk about that. And a lot of Democrats, most Democrats don't actually talk about that either, especially in this country, in America. I would say most of the left that are established in power, especially in America, but in a lot of other places as well, they don't want to have these difficult conversations about what the nature of capitalism is and how it is inherently predatory. And, you know, understand that we in the West live pretty good lives, especially in European countries, because of the exploitation that happens in Eastern countries, you know, Far Eastern countries and things like that. So, you know, again, these are some very difficult conversations to have, and nobody wants to have them. Okay, and so, you know, that kind of goes with the whole trade argument, right? Because that's inherent to predatory capitalism. But anyway, that said, differences between Trump and the Republican Party. There's trade, and then there's some elements of populism. One of them, of course, is the $2,000 stimmy checks. Okay, they know Trump knew that people wanted $2,000 stimmy checks, and he was willing to give that because he could use that to help himself. He understands that if I give people something that they want, then people will like me and they will reelect me. That's, again, it comes down to like selfishness, but essentially that's what he wanted to do. Mitch McConnell, however, is like, no, I will give you nothing. I will give you nothing and you will like it. Because that's, again, traditionally Republicans. Okay. All of that is to say that there are certain differences between Trump and McConnell and the never Trump Republicans, policy wise. But generally, they like tax cuts for the rich, unregulated free market capitalism. Trump believes, of course, in conspiracy theories about climate change. And of course, Republicans, again, the Republican Party also loves conspiracies about climate change. They don't believe climate change is a real thing. You had, I forget who it was now that brought the snowball into the Senate and said, well, I have a snowball, therefore it's wintertime, climate change is a hoax. So they're generally an anti-science party. But Donald Trump has, I think, amped it up quite a bit. And for some reason, Trump himself also has a irrational hatred of windmills. Inhofe, thank you. Yeah, that was James Inhofe. And so the reason, of course, that the Republicans are anti-science like that on climate change is because they get fossil fuel money. It all comes down to greed, whereas Donald Trump actually literally believes in these conspiracy theories and things like windmills cause cancer. It's really crazy stuff. But basically, that's to point out that Trump is a Fox News president. He is bought into everything that was told on Fox News, which we know is a propaganda outlet that gives you fake information. It's not true. A lot of what Fox News says is just straight made up. It's lies and BS. And the difference is Fox News and Republicans, they know they're lying. They know they're spreading BS. Whereas Donald Trump and the viewers, they believe it. They actually believe this stuff. And so Fox News, again, Trump is the Fox News president, as I said before. He is bought into everything that they have said. He has become the living avatar of the Fox News voter, the embodiment of the average propagandized Fox News viewer, which in my opinion was only supposed to be a means to an end. So the party could, of course, rob you by filling your head with conspiracy theories and also pointing you at immigrants and liberals, etc., and the government. But with Donald Trump, this has all gone horribly wrong for them. And now Mitch McConnell and all these Republicans are in the crosshairs for actually doing something that is, in reality, the basic. This is a low bar, and most of the Republicans in the party couldn't even hit that low bar. It's amazing. And so instead of the Republicans, the old school, being in charge, now it's Trump supporters who are, neo-Nazis, QAnoners, Pizzagate, and that's it. That's what they are. They have their voice, and it's former President Trump. And that's bad for the Republican establishment because they believe that it's no longer going to bring them wins. And that's, unfortunately for them, the biggest concern is I want to win. I want to keep my power. And there's a lot of truth to that. He lost to Joe Biden, which I don't believe that was certainly the best choice. You can disagree with me on that. That's fine. But I'm going to say that I believe that a lot of Biden voters just believe that he would beat Trump, and he did. And that's why I think a lot of people voted for him instead of somebody that they wanted to see, whether it be, Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. I still don't know anybody who supported Pete Buttigieg, really, seriously. But hey, anyway, that's just my perspective. All right, so you can see, though, that the Republican Civil War continues to get more intense, continues to get more interesting. And right now, this is an example of the Trump wing hitting back. And with Donald Trump being acquitted, well, now he can run in 2024. And he's got a lot of support among the voters and in the party. So, I mean, let me just leave you off with this devastating poll here. Among Republican voters, 59% say they want Trump to play a prominent role in the party. Prominent role. Up 18 points from the last such poll, which was taken in the aftermath of the Capitol riot. So it actually went up. They want Donald Trump to be more involved. And then a slightly lower number, about 54%, which is still a majority, say that they would back Donald Trump in the next Republican primary if he were to win, if he were to run. 54%. Now understand, this is pre-primary polls, I know, which can be a little bit ridiculous, but I think that piece of data is important to bring up and to really note, because we're talking about this, and obviously name recognition is a big thing, but 54% want Trump, 12% want Pence. And then the numbers go further down from there. So Trump is a major force in the Republican Party, and he's going to continue being a major force in the party for a long, long time to come. And again, that's just among Republican voters. The vast majority of Americans overall are massively against Trump, and that's what got the Republicans in the establishment very concerned, because, they might not win their elections anymore. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.